Salute and welcome to Romaniac. My name is Forza and you've seen the title, you know what we're here for. Let's not beat around the bush. Quite clearly I am handsome. Quite clearly, as you can see, I am black, and in this video I'll be going into the details of how it is for me living here in Romania as a black person. Now, I'm not the most serious person, so this is a little bit weird for me. This is a little bit uncharted territory, so bear with me as I try to rackle my brain and talk about my experiences in a more serious way on this channel. Now, I just want to preface that some of the things I'm going to be saying are my own personal experiences. Not everything that I say is fact, and please keep that in mind. My experiences may be different to other people's experiences, and that is of course because of our changes in personalities, because of our changes in gender, changes in the way that we look as well. These all play a huge role into how we're viewed and how our experiences differ from one another. Much like color, our experiences range in shades. And that leads us nicely on to the first topic, which is that in Romania, black is black. Now you're probably asking, what's this all about? Black is black in Romania. Of course, black is black in England. Black is black in Africa. Black means black. Yes, but let me just explain. And the best way for me to explain is to give you a bit of backstory about myself and where I'm coming from. Now, I am 22 years old. I was born and raised in London until the age of 18, and then I moved here, and now I've been here for on and off around 4 years because of the COVID. However, my parents, they're born in Cameroon, which is a country in Central Africa, and they left their country to come to London when they were around the same age as I am. Both our experiences and the way that we grew up and our cultures are very, very different, even though we're both still black. And now the experience, the culture, and the way in which somebody from America, an American black person, lives is very different to the way that I live, and also very different to the way that my parents experienced life coming from Africa. That is also very different to the way that somebody maybe from the Caribbean lives. There are so many different types of black people around the world, and our experiences, our cultures differ greatly. Not just in Africa in itself as well. The culture of somebody from Cameroon would differ very much from the culture of somebody from Nigeria, and they're just neighboring countries. Now that's just to show how in my head black isn't just black, but over here in Romania somehow all these cultures are just a little bit blended together. I totally understand where that mindset comes from. Romania is one of the last countries to come out of communism, and they were just recently in the past 30-40 years really opened up the country to different foreigners, not just black people. They don't know as much about your culture and the way it differs from other people's culture as maybe you do. So for that reason, one of the things that I've realized when coming here in Romania is that sometimes they don't know the differences culturally between maybe me, somebody who grew up and was born in London, and another black person who grew up and was born in America. I mean, for me, it's clear as day. We're two very different people culturally. Where for Romanians, because they don't have as much exposure to either parties, they don't really see that much of a difference between you, or between somebody who's come from somewhere in West Africa, which a majority of black people here are from West Africa. You'd end up being like bunched together, which at the end of the day is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either. It's just an observation that I've made, and I do kind of understand it a little bit, especially with the older generation, because they're not used to seeing as much black people as maybe somebody in the older generation in the UK is used to seeing. In the UK, it's not strange to walk past, I don't know, 5 or 6 black people on your route to the way to school, but over here it is. And maybe they don't speak to as many black people, so they just think that everybody is just from Africa or something. And a lot of the older generation don't have as many black friends, so they don't tend to know the small nuances between the different type of black cultures around the globe. And that leads me swiftly on to the next topic of the fact that the older people in Romania do tend to stare a little bit more at you because you are black. Now, everyone watching this video, you all know that there aren't as many black people in Romania as there are Romanians or white people, or however you want to say it. So of course, you are going to get a couple more stares than the usual white person walking down the street, because you're not the normal thing that they see. If there were so many black people here, if this whole country were just filled with black people, then nobody would be looking at you. You're nothing special. But one thing that I can say is that the older generation, so the people 60 and above, do tend to stare at you more than the younger generation. Most times when I'm walking, I live in Bucharest, so this place is populated with more foreign people than I I think, any other city in the country. So when I walk past people who are my age, a bit younger, they tend not really to stare at me or look at me at all. However, the stare is not a sinister stare of them thinking, oh, what are you doing in my country, or you're inferior to me or something. It's more of like a curious stare, a more, how do I say it, a very like nosy, inquisitive stare. As you're walking past, there would be, and they don't stop. Honestly, even if you lock eyes with them, I've tried it once. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try locking eyes with this guy, see whether he will avert his eyes after he noticed that I'm looking at him, and he just didn't. They just don't stop, which is, in a way, it's funny. At the beginning, it did make me sweat a little bit. I was like, oh, do I look a bit weird? Am I wearing something funny? But it's just something that I've come to realize, that the older generation do tend to stare a little bit more than the normal younger people. Now, I only have one more point to go over, but before I do that, I'd like to ask everyone who's still watching to like and subscribe, as it helps our channel grow immensely. If you are Romanian by any chance and you're wanting to watch and you like the video that we're doing, subscribe, as we're going to put loads of videos out on our experience here in Romania, our studies and our general travels here. If you're wanting to visit Romania as well, check out other videos right here if you're wishing to study, which is about another student's experience here as a foreigner. Now we're going to go into the third and the final topic, probably the most important one, the one that encompasses both the first and the second points together. And I think I'll generalize this as not just being black in Romania, but foreigners in general. You do tend to have a lot of questions asked to you about Romania in general. However, when I do start engaging in conversations, or people engage in conversations with me, those are the main things that people would ask. They would be asking, have you tried this certain food? Have you tried this certain drink? Have you visited this certain place? How do you think of Romania? How do you think of the women here in Romania, etc., etc.? And in a way, I would say it's a great way for you to start conversations, especially if you're shy. Romanians give you good conversation starters to start with them. And in another way, I find it quite endearing that Romanians are quite proud people. They do care about their country a lot, but for some people it may be just a little bit too nosy or a little bit too much into their lives. And I think some of that pride is due to the fact that in other countries they may be seen as less than what they actually are. You know, in the UK or in France or maybe in Germany, people view Romanians a little bit different, and they have that stigma that they're not as good as other people. And that's why it's such a great thing to see when you come here, when I come here, that people do really want to know how I see the country, and if I see it as good as they do, which I do. Now, one funny story that I do have, which has to do with me being black here, is that one day I was in the subway and I was on my way home from school, and there was this one guy, this one older gentleman. As I mentioned before, older people do tend to stare, and he was staring at me for some time, and I just brushed it over. I didn't mind. I was too busy in my texting mode. However, he came up to me and he said, "Putem facem o poză? Can we take a picture?" And I was like, a bit strange, but it's okay, yeah, let's take a picture. And I thought he wanted to take a picture of me. I had misunderstood. So I took out my AirPods, and he just gave his phone to two young teenagers. I was like, yeah, take a picture of us. So somewhere out there on an old man's phone in Bucharest is a picture of him and me, just like, I don't know why he took a picture with me. I don't know if he thought I was a footballer or just, I don't know, a celebrity or something, or maybe he just took a picture of me because I'm black and he doesn't see black people as much. But he was very kind. And then the woman next to me, who she was also old, she decided that she wanted a picture as well. She may have thought that I was somebody that somebody knew. So for me, it was a funny story that I told my friends afterwards, and they had a laugh, and I had a laugh about it as well. Our experiences differ greatly based on your personality and based on how you look at things, based on how you see things, and that really how you're perceived is not just based on who's looking at you, but you also play a role into how you're perceived too. If you're somebody who is always staring at the floor, or always has a grumpy face, or doesn't like to smile at other people, and is generally ticked off whenever somebody looks at them, of course other people are going to react negatively towards that. However, if you kind of adapt yourself to the new environment that you're in, you understand that you're a bit of the outsider in the country. You're something that's a bit far from the norm. So when people do stare at you, you tend not to stare back. You just carry on with your day. You tend to interact You try as hard as possible to learn the language. You try to explore the country, not just so that you can feel more at home and feel like one of them, because unfortunately to say, you're never really going to feel Romanian. I'm never going to be Romanian. I'm never going to feel like I'm really somebody from here. However, the more I try to immerse myself with the Romanian culture and try to understand more of the history of Romania and understand the country and the people themselves, I think the better the Romanians are going to understand me. And I think that's just not just for black people. I think that's for foreigners in general. Wherever you are, try as hard as you can to be the best version of yourself as possible. And if that means that you're going to have to smile a bit more than you're used to, coming from London or coming from Germany or coming from France, wherever you're coming from. And I don't mean that you have to change your personality, but you just have to understand that things work differently in other countries. Yes, you're going to get more stares in Romania if you're black, or if you're Indian, or if you're just not Romanian, than people who are Romanian, of course, because there aren't as many non-Romanians here in Romania than non-English people in England. There are many small things that you can do to help change the perception people may have on your race or on your skin color. To round it off, I feel very comfortable here. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. It's not as if Romania is the only option that I had. Romania was my first choice in terms of coming somewhere to study. It's my first choice for many reasons, and it's the country that I'm staying in. I've been here for four-ish years on and off due to the COVID, and I'll be here for another minimum 2 years on and off. This video isn't to convince you to come visit Romania, but if that doesn't reassure you that as a black person or as a foreigner you'd feel okay here in Romania, you wouldn't feel terrorized or feel less than anybody else, then I don't know what will. We've never had a topic this serious on this channel, and hopefully I did it due diligence and yeah, I mean, I just spoke exactly the truth and nothing but the truth on my experience here being black in Romania. Now, if you are interested in our travels here in Romania, our studies, how it is to study in Romania, medicine in general, check out our channel. We have loads of videos up already and loads of videos to come. So that was me, Forza, signing out. See you next Wednesday. La revedere and ciao.